just in the Airbnb market, there was an increase in over 15% of available type
Yeah.
properties that came on the market. And, basic laws of supply and demand, as the supply goes up and the demand remains constant, then the prices are going to come down.
All right, so let's talk about the Airbnb bust thing that you're seeing everywhere. It's a big hashtag, keeps trending. According to Rental Scale Up, Market Watch, Business Insider, and several other real estate publications, it's getting to be a real trend that we're seeing out there that people that are hosts are not getting people to rent right now. So
Yeah,
I asked George Pino, he's the CEO of Commercial Brokers International, to come on today, and let's really walk through what we're seeing in the marketplace. Now,
I think more importantly, also some opportunities and how you can position your property, which we'll talk about a little bit later down on the video,
yeah, yeah,
and to actually recoup some of the losses that you may have had from not renting them out.
yeah, I'm going to ask if you are a super host watching this and you're having real success, to put in the comments what's really working for you right now. So, but George, let's dive into this.
Yeah,
Now, we've been investors in STNLs, multifamily. Now
houses even.
yeah, houses. We bought small
Yeah,
portfolios, but when the Airbnb thing started really taking, and I keep saying Airbnb, but it's a short sale or short
short-term
term,
rental.
yeah, short term rental
Mhm.
platforms. It's something we didn't really want to take a look at. And I think that's mostly because we didn't see that it was really a platform that we had a proven track record yet. So I think it's worked very well for some people, but we're finding now that a lot of people are struggling with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, initially going back, Airbnb has been around, and we're using Airbnb because they were really the first short-term rental
Right.
platform that was actually out there on a peer-to-peer basis.
Mm-hmm.
And it started off with an idea back in 2007, but really didn't get some stream until about later 2008 9, which was, if everyone that remembers, was right during the crash with the debt,
Yeah.
the mortgages, and everything else. So um, since then, though, we've been on an uptick,
Yeah.
and everything's been going really well. People
Money's
have
been
been
easy.
traveling, money's been easy,
Yeah.
and going out there. And I think one of the issues that we had, or I had, I know, was that a lot of the competitors in the Airbnb market weren't necessarily following the real estate fundamentals.
Right.
And because of that, that also put more competition that we had no control
Yeah.
over. With zoning laws and things like that, you have control when it comes to commercial property.
Right.
You know what can be built, what's out there, who your
Well, more
competitors are going to
control.
be. You have more
More
control,
control. Not, yeah.
and maybe not even more control, more visibility
Okay.
as to what may happen.
Yeah.
But with the what if you remember back in 2015 or so, a lot of the cities were actually pushing back on Airbnb, saying it was taking the long-term rentals off the market, and because of that, there's a housing shortage. So some cities said absolutely no Airbnbs
Yeah.
or no short-term rentals. So if you purchased a property at that time for that specific reason, you're really in a bind.
I talked to the mayor of Palm Springs back in,
Yeah.
I think it was maybe 2017. He goes, we're just getting so many people that are coming here and buying these Airbnbs and VRBOs and or these homes and using those platforms. He goes, I'm really concerned about what it's going to do to our housing. And
Hmm.
he was very concerned. And he was very concerned at that time. He goes, when the economy slows, are they going to be able to still do it? Or are we going to get flooded with a bunch of properties? And they're actually seeing that now.
Yeah.
I talked to a guy that owns 3 properties in Palm Springs 2 weeks ago. He hasn't leased any of them up since June,
Yeah.
and so not one night,
Yeah.
nothing. Nope. But the market is saturated. So
Market saturated, and I think that's the issue. You have hot markets that everybody just jumps into,
yeah,
and they don't take into account the competition that's there. Heck, I know for a fact that there's been 3 or 4 hotels that have been completely refurbished and redone or built in Palm Springs, which adds to the competition as well.
well, now let's talk about what's going on with the companies.
Hmm.
Airbnb in just last month or 2 months ago brought out their earnings, and they're 25% up
Hmm.
from last year.
Absolutely, that's on a global.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
globally.
globally.
So they're doing their job,
Hmm.
right? That's what their
Absolutely,
investors want. They
absolutely.
want to see you adding users every
Yeah.
or adding hosts every
Hmm.
day, and so they're doing their job. So there's going to be more and more people coming into this business,
Hmm.
and so that's something you really have to take into consideration. That's something you don't have control over. So you have to put the best product into the
Hmm.
marketplace, and
Absolutely.
so. it's really going to be something you're going to have to watch out for. Is you're really going to have to watch your community, how many properties are going to be coming in there, and how do you compete with them?
Mhm. Absolutely. And Airbnb has done a good job, and they have actually been profitable, and the profits
Mm-hmm.
were actually above this year. But also another statistic for that short-term rental market is that just in the Airbnb market, there was an increase in over 15% of available type
Yeah.
properties that came on the market. And basic laws of supply and demand, as the supply goes up and the demand remains constant, then the prices are going to come down. So even though the company Airbnb as a whole is doing well,
Mm-hmm.
because of the increase in the actual size of available properties that are out there, the hosts themselves are getting less.
Yeah.
They, instead of having maybe 10 rentals during a season, they may have 8 now.
Yeah.
So, but that's a 20% drop right there in their income.
Mm-hmm.
And that's made up by the other properties that have come into the market that people may be trying out because it's new and or designed for specifically for short-term rentals. And so Airbnb itself is doing well,
Mm-hmm.
but the hosts themselves are being affected.
Well, all the platforms are doing pretty well.
Absolutely.
There was in one of the articles I read that 50% of the properties that are on these platforms were bought over the last 24 months.
Yeah.
That seems to be, well, that seems like a crazy number to me. I don't know that, how are they going to make that work? If you've got, that was top of the market, they
Mhm.
bought a property, right? And now they're trying to lease it out. Do you think that we're going to see a lot of people selling these homes off?
I think there's
Or
going to
can they
be
sell them off?
that's going to be that's actually the better question, I think,
Mm-hmm.
because when you're buying at the top of the market and we're starting to come down and we have higher interest rates, we're starting to see prices and homes come down as well. They may not have that equity that's there. They bought this based upon a pro forma without realizing that their competition was going to expand,
Mm-hmm.
and because of that, their income is not as high as they anticipated. I'm hoping it's high enough to cover the mortgage,
Yeah.
and property taxes, so that they don't get foreclosed upon. But I think in some submarkets you are going to see these coming back either directly to the bank on a foreclosure aspect,
Mm-hmm.
or come back on as a resale, which is going to increase the inventory for the home sales. Almost going back again, kind of a trickle effect in the sense that as more properties come on the market for sale, that's also going to force the pricing down a little bit more.
Right.
So supply and demand, and so that's where we're kind of running into. I think more important is, if you are turning positive cash flow, how can you increase that cash flow, and what can you do to make your property more desirable?
Well, I think it comes down to, you got to remember, you're a real estate investor. There's
Hmm.
a lot of speculators got into this business. If
A
you're a
lot.
real real estate investor, then what you want to do is always be looking at your analytics. Go into your systems, see what's working for you, what's working best for you. Make sure that your photos that are on the platform are top notch. Make sure the description are top notch. I mean, you've got to find a competitive advantage as well.
Hmm.
You've really got to have something unique about your property. How do you set yourself apart? And why would somebody want to come lease your home for the night or your property for the night? That's something you've got to think about. So, also, any other tips that you think we can give these guys that could really get them to help generate more revenue?
Absolutely. I mean, I think really when it comes to the analytics, one of the things that a lot of people have to do, and really this is a hard thing to do, is take a look at their pricing.
Yeah.
Where are they priced when it comes to competing properties? And I'm not just talking about Airbnb properties. I'm talking about all your competition. So,
Yeah.
if you have a hotel or motel, or there's a lot of new hotels in the area and submarket, and their prices are coming down, you're going to have to adjust that, because ultimately, if price is a great equalizer when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to this. But if you stick firm to your numbers, wanting that, you may end up getting a lot less bookings because of that, and hurt yourself overall and make less money than if you just lowered the price 10, 15, 20% to actually be in competition with the market.
Yeah. There's a guy that I was reading about before we came on, and he just went into the back of his house and he built this great patio.
Hmm.
And he put white lights around it, put some nice
Yep.
furniture and a fire pit. And he's had some real success with that. So you've got to get creative right now. You got to get creative, really make sure your marketing is on point. Be joining all the groups you can on all the social networks that are out there promoting this stuff. And, again, I know the last thing you want to do is cut your rate, but it's something you might have to take a look at.
Well,
So,
something to consider as well is long-term rental.
yeah.
You can always, especially in a down economy, when the economy goes down, less people buy homes, and that
Mhm.
creates a influx in or higher demand for long-term rentals.
Yep.
So with higher demand for long-term rentals, you might be able to get a little bit higher rental rate so that you're at least making what you would have made if you did Airbnb, but not have to worry about the monthly fluctuations in that on a
Mhm.
long-term rental basis. So look at that and really consider that. Take a look at all your competition, all your opportunities and value, and what's going to be best for your investment when you purchased it, what kind of debt service you have, and then what type of return you're looking for. And then you can make an informed decision on how to proceed.
All right. Well, George, thank you very much for coming on today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Now, if you are a host and you have some ideas that our viewers can use, would love to have you put in the comments and give us some tips and tricks that have worked well for you. And if you're a regular viewer, thank you for watching, and make sure you like the video. Now, if you're new to the channel, make sure you're subscribed because we're putting these videos out every week. Thank you.